Hi, I'm Louise Otton, Head of Talent Development and Culture at Infinity Group. And I wanted to talk to you today about something that's quietly reshaping how we work and, more importantly, how we lead. That is, what is Microsoft's Trend Index report revealing about where Infinity is aligned and where we still need to challenge ourselves when it comes to AI? Microsoft's latest Work Trend Index report points to a shift that feels really relevant to us. And the message is not simply that AI matters, it is that AI on its own is not the differentiator anymore. What matters most is the environment around it, the culture, the leadership, the confidence people feel, and whether learning turns into something bigger than individual effort. So the question I want to explore is this. Are we just using AI, or are we building a business that's designed to get the best from it? One of the biggest insights from the report is that this shift is not really about the individual. Yes, people's confidence and capability matter, but the research suggests that organisational factors like culture, manager support, leadership alignment, talent practices shape AI impact more strongly than individual effort alone. And that matters because it changes the focus. It tells us that becoming more AI enabled is not mainly a training problem, it is a system design problem. In other words, you do not become a frontier firm just because a few smart people use AI. You get there when the environment around you helps that capability spread, stick, and scale. So this is one of the reasons why the report feels particularly relevant for us. At Infinity, a lot of what we already have in place and what we're building exactly sits in this space. We're not just talking about technology, we're trying to build the conditions that make change more possible through building a coaching culture, investing in leadership development, building our AI champions community, peer learning, and creating more spaces for experimentation and shared learning. And that is important because it means our people and our culture agenda is not separate from AI adoption. It is part of it. But I also think we need to be honest. Having these initiatives in place is not the same as saying this is how Infinity works consistently by default. That is the next level of challenge. One of the more uncomfortable insights in the report is that for many organisations, people are actually moving faster than the system around them. And that creates a familiar tension. People may be curious, and they may want to try new ways of working, and they may even see the possibilities already. But if the environment around them is unclear, inconsistent, or overly cautious, that momentum can get lost. So the question here is not simply, are our people ready? It is, are our systems, expectations, and ways of working keeping pace with the ambitions of our people? And that is where transformation can get stuck. So this is the part of the conversation I really care about. As AI becomes more embedded in everyday work, the value of humans does not disappear. If anything, it becomes more important. We describe this as a shift towards work being human-led and AI-supported. And I still think that is the most useful way to frame it. AI can support, accelerate, and help us think, but people still don't need to set direction. People still need to set direction, apply judgment, stay accountable, and bring others with them. So this is not about replacing human value, it's about relocating it. And that is why I think the conversation about AI has to stay deeply connected to how we think about leadership, culture, and capability. So this is a really interesting part of the report as well. It describes a real paradox called the transformation paradox. People know that they need to adapt. They may feel pressure to move quickly, but at the same time, many also feel that it is safer to stay focused on today's goals than to rethink how they work. And only a small minority feel rewarded for a reinvention when it does not produce immediate results. So that is not an individual problem, it is a system problem. And I think it gives us a very honest question to ask ourselves. Are we really rewarding experimentation, reflection and redesign? Or are we still in practice rewarding the safe delivery and visible output more than the learning? And that is where a lot of organisations may get stuck if they're not careful. So the firms that are pulling ahead are not just doing more training or buying more tools, they are aligning individual capability with the environment around it. That means people build confidence and fluency, but it also means leaders send clear signals, teams share standards, people have time to test ideas and the way workflows actually support new behaviour. And this is where I think the idea of a frontier firm becomes really useful. It's not a label for people who are most enthusiastic about AI. It's a description of organisations where capability and conditions reinforce each other. And that is the alignment that we need to really keep building. One of the other really powerful parts of the report shows that AI is not only helping with admin or content creation. A large share of the usage is now supporting analysis, reasoning, and decision making. That means that the human skill set we need to build becomes even more important, not less. Judgment, critical thinking, curiosity, asking better questions, stronger framing, the ability to pause and reflect and challenge what we are seeing is really important. And that is exactly why I think our focus on building a coaching culture matters so much. In an AI-enabled environment, coaching is not just a development activity, it becomes part of how we protect judgment, build confidence, and help people think more effectively. The report is also very strong on the role of leadership. It shows that when managers effectively model good AI use, they create psychological safety and make experimentation feel legitimate, people report more value, more trust, and more readiness. And that is why I do not think leaders need to be the most technically advanced people in the room. What they need to do is make new ways of working feel possible. And that means being visible, being curious, trying things out openly, talking about what works and what doesn't work, making it clear that experimentation is expected and not risky. And if I'm being honest, this is one of the areas that we need to keep challenging ourselves. Are we role modelling this consistently enough across Infinity? And finally, for me, this is one of the most important strategic ideas that was to come out of the report. The firms pulling ahead are not just helping individuals get more productive. They're turning what they learn into repeatable organisational capability. They capture what works, they share it, they refine it and build it into how the business operates. That feels very relevant for us. We're starting to do this already through our AI champions community and shared learning. But the real question is whether our best examples, prompts, workflows and lessons are travelling far enough across the company. Because if great learning stays local, then the organisations never become meaningfully smarter. And that ultimately is where the real advantage lies. So that is the part I think that matters most. This is the challenge that we need to still ask ourselves. It is easy to talk about ambition, and it's harder to ask whether we are changing enough of the system around our people to make that ambition real. So if we're serious about becoming a frontier firm, I think these are the kinds of questions we need to keep coming back to. Are we truly redesigning work or just adding AI to current habits? Are our leaders really sending consistent signals? And are our people getting enough time and permission to experiment? And are our best ideas and use cases being really shared or staying trapped in teams and individuals? And do people across Infinity genuinely know what good AI-enabled work looks like? These are not reasons to be discouraged. They are the questions that keep us honest. So final thoughts on this. Those organisations that are striving ahead will simply be the ones that will not simply be the ones that automate the most. They will be the ones that are most intentional about human judgment and AI capability work together, and how that gets built into the culture, the leadership and the system around the work. And that is why I think this really matters so much for us. Not because AI is the next trend to adopt, but because it gives us a chance to rethink how we work, how we lead, how we learn, and how we help our people do more meaningful, higher value work. So the real question is not whether we are using AI, it is whether we are redesigning ourselves in a way that allows us to get the best from it and from our people. And that is definitely a future worth building.